Well, hello. Hello, my fellow sensitive people. It's me, Whimsy, and I hope you're doing great. I have a message from Spirit for all of us. I know the energy is really heavy right now. I know a lot of people are upset about a lot of stuff that's going on. We're feeling, many of us are feeling bitter, disillusioned, feeling like there's no love, there's no meaning to life. The love we create is the meaning of life, right? It's the beauty we create in the world. If you're feeling like you can't do that right now, then listening to songs and music that inspire you or remind you of what true love feels like could be something that brings you back to the vibration of what it feels to truly love another human being. If you feel you've forgotten that or have lost faith in that or think that none of it's real, then Spirit has talked about listening to higher octave music. It's one of the things, using essential oils that bring up a higher vibration. The herbs that we've talked about that can help with grief are chamomile, lemon balm, and holy basil. Were the three herbs we talked about. But sometimes it can be mantras and sometimes it can be Donovan, right? I was listening to that song by Donovan, um, Try and Catch the Wind. I might as well try and catch the wind. And I was thinking of that song and I was thinking that's exactly uh, how we should be listening to music. Vern Gostin wrote it, but it was sung by, I just looked it up. Yeah, so I'll try and record it for people. In the chilly hours and minutes of uncertainty, I want to be in the warm hold of your loving mind, to feel you all around me, and to take your hand along the sand. Ah, but I might as well try and catch the wind. When sundown pales the sky, I want to hide a while behind your smile, and everywhere I'd look, your eyes I'd find. For me to love you now would be the sweetest thing. 'Twould make me sing. Ah, but I might as well try and catch the wind. When rain has hung the leaves with tears, I want you near to kill my fears, to help me to leave all my blues behind. For standing in your heart is where I want to be and I long to be. Ah, but I might as well try and catch the wind. So I'm working on that, and I wanted to just give that to you. Not all of the human experience is brutal and cruel betrayals, lying, cheating liars. That we can all have the human experience of and sacred moments of knowing what it is to truly love and be loved. Whether it's us with our dog or cat, or a child we adopt or mentor, or a relationship between intimate partners, we can all experience that by choosing to be in that vibration. So that's the first thing I want to talk about. Now, as many of you know, Donald Trump had an MRI done. He admitted to an MRI. And a lot of people are trying to figure out why he had that MRI. So I hadn't thought of it before, but I thought, why don't I go in and try and see if I can put myself in the shoes of Donald Trump. And let me see if I can put myself in the shoes of Donald Trump and see if I can't physically feel anything inside my body that the MRI might have been picking up on. And he talked about the exam, and he talked about getting the 30 questions to determine if he had cognitive decline. And they also ran an MRI, so that I would assume the MRI was to look at his brain and to see if there was a cognitive impairment. Now, so the reason for the MRI was to look at his brain, most likely because it was part of a neurological exam. So what you can see in a neurological exam is you can sometimes see a stroke. This is an image of the brain. You can see the white matter here. This is what we're looking for when we're looking on imaging. And that's basically areas that have had ischemia or loss of oxygen. What you're looking at here is white matter. And that white matter is going to tell you where there was ischemia, where there was a loss of oxygen, and where the tissue died. So it feels to me like there was damage that was located in the left vertical area of the brain. So the way these are imaging is done is that this is the right side and this is the left. So we're talking about the same area shown here on the right, but I'm seeing it on the left side, and I'm seeing something that looks very similar to this image here, this first image you're seeing. I'm seeing an area of damage. These open areas here that you're looking at is a ventricle. And here's another ventricle. And this is where the cerebral spinal fluid goes through the brain stem. But I'm feeling it is occurring. The damage I'm seeing is predominantly the upper left. It's the upper left ventricle. That's where I'm seeing the white matter as a remote viewer. So I want to be very specific about that. So I'm feeling that there is an occurrence that happens here. Could be mini strokes. It could be just natural aging, Alzheimer's, but I feel that there was a loss of oxygen that affected the left side of the brain. So it goes back to the remotes we've talked about, where his cabinet could order have him removed. Article 25, is that what it's called? He could be removed, and it could be because his cabinet wants to see those results. You know, his cabinet would be taking it very seriously. If it shows white matter, significant white matter, and what I'm seeing is damage to areas around both ventricles, actually. Both left ventricles appear to be affected. But the main problem is on the left side. It could be that the reason is because of an occlusion or possible problems with brain flow affecting the left carotid artery. So where do we go from here? They've gotten it so far that they've taken an MRI and they've given a cognitive test. So that information is going to go to his cabinet. And then his cabinet is going to have to decide if the evidence warrants, can this man continue on? That's the ultimate question. I'll go ahead and I'll do some cards as well, but that's just the clear remote. Some people don't like me to do card reading. A lot of people complain, well, let me see the cards. I just want to make sure. Am I recording? Yes, I am. My point is that a lot of people just want me to be a straight remote viewer, which is what I started off as before I learned how to read cards. But that's what go ahead and do it yourself, by the way. If you're an HCRV practitioner, if you're trained by me, class starts next week, by the way. We just finished the tarot. You should be able to be Donald Trump and feel, where is the problem? Do you feel any congestion on the right or the left? Feel the flow. Go into his energy, be him. If you're a remote viewer, if you're HCRV practitioner, and try and see if you can't see the MRI, or feel flow. The flow is slowing down. One of the things that we look for when a person ages is we look at flow. This is a very ancient idea in naturopathic medicine. Things have to flow. We look at the cessation of the flow. Is the river clean? Is it muddy and rocky and dirty from eating too many greasy burgers, right? So we want clean flow, and we want the flow to be going through the whole, all the organs are getting the flow of nutrients and the removal of waste. Erectile dysfunction can be the first sign, for example, that a person is experiencing coronary artery disease because of the hardening of the arteries that's impacting flow, and ejaculation can be affected. Prostate enlargement leading to problems with flow, right? Sensation of flow when a woman goes through menopause. So the ability for things to flow and to move. In the case of Donald Trump, we see this loss of flow, right? I don't feel my flow is slowing down. What is the cause? Why are my veins and arteries breaking down? Aging and loss of smooth muscle is certainly one of the causes, but it can also be due to coronary artery disease and a weak ejection fraction. So let's do the empath prayer and let's take a look. Okay, I want to call on white light protection for myself and this community as we ask permission from Spirit to access the Akashic records. Call on our spirit guides and our good angels to be with us. Please give us the clarity and the wisdom that is needed to empower all of us on our journeys to make the best decisions for ourselves, our families, the planet, the people we love, but also to help those that we may have strife with. And together, collectively, we say, Amen. Let's do it. The big problem I feel with Donald Trump's health at this time, based on the energy I feel and based on this cognitive decline coming from the left side, it's the left side of the brain that's been the most impacted. I feel he's emotionally unstable. And, that sounds ridiculous given what we've all seen with him literally tearing the White House down. But This is a real lack of stability that this individual has. His base card is the Knight of Swords, and that would indicate uh, extreme violent or erratic behavior and issues with his temper. So, one of the ways in which cognitive decline can impact us is that it can impact our brain function and our ability to get control of our emotions. And that seems to be a main factor in Trump's mental decline, is that he's having a real difficulty with his emotional well-being. I felt as him like I needed to have my wife around me more. I needed her to play that game more. I needed to get more from her. I felt vulnerable, making her hold my hand. Or I need the comfort of female energy right now. So he has this need for female emotional support. I also feel like he is not in his right mind. The crossing card is the Seven of Cups, which can be feelings of delusion. He could also begin hitting on women again openly, flirting with them again as part of his cognitive decline, because he wants or needs female intimacy. And so he is again around these dancing women, emotionally unstable, and issues with his temper. What is above him at this time? He's starting to have strange sexual acting outs that we may start to see, flirting with women, no guardrails. He just simply desires female company. He desires the feminine, but he doesn't have the cognitive wherewithal at this time to control his impulses. He has even worse impulses now than he did in the past. He is constantly looking at money, constantly looking at the money, at the resources as getting the money, and he's coming out of issues regarding the release of the money, and he's entering into a time of being betrayed. So, as a result of this exam that has happened, it appears that the truth of the exam is going to be leaked, and possibly leaked to people in positions of power that want him removed. Now, there's a rumor going around by some of the psychics that Trump is going to die any day now. I want to go on record that I am not one of those psychics. But what I have said is that he's very likely to be out of the White House or really on thin ice within 5 months. And I said that about 3.5 months ago. So we're talking about sometime in late December. We could see an end to Donald Trump's presidency. Now, Reagan showed signs of mental decline before he left the White House, but he remained alive for many years to come after that, even though he had no idea who he was or anybody else was. So, yes, Trump could live another 10, 20 years, but that's not the issue. The issue is not whether or not Donald Trump can live for the next 10 to 20 years. The issue is whether or not he has the mental wherewithal to be the president right now. And if the MRI comes back showing significant white matter, as it appears to when I do a remote, that's what it's looking like. And if he's doing poorly on the 30-point cognitive exam, looks like the MRI was an extension of that. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure this out. And it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out that his cabinet wants to see those results, because if they've got to remove this guy and bring in Vance, the whole song and dance with that, and also trying to make nice with Vance so they get rehired as part of his cabinet, right? His judgment is in question. So he was brought to have the exam. He was, whether by hell or high water, they were going to make him do that exam, because they were trying to determine whether or not he had sound judgment. So that's what happened. So he had an exam first off because they had to determine whether or not he could fly, because he has venous insufficiency, right? Chronic venous insufficiency. But the other thing here that's coming out is that this guy's judgment he was tested because of his judgment. They began to question whether or not he had all of his marbles, and he was beginning to show emotionally erratic behavior, and he's going to be exposed. This is crazy, you know. Looking at the ladies confused. He wants comfort more than ever, and that could be hitting on people in inappropriate ways. His judgment, his opposition. They're grooming J.D. Vance for 2028. They're already grooming his campaign. They've already started his campaign. They've already started revving up the campaign for J.D. Vance. So that means for Trump, they've got to figure out how to get rid of him, because J.D. Vance has to start his re-election campaign pretty soon. If he wants to win in 2028, and they don't want him to have to run in a primary, they've got to get rid of Trump, and they've got to give him at least a year and a half to prepare the American people so that he can be reelected. So when I go into this energy at Trump, what I'm looking at is the race, because in politics, the chariot is the race. So whose race? It's J.D. Vance's race. So they're sending him off to have psych evaluations and to look and see if he's got gray matter. And he's looking over, and they've already run off with J.D. Vance to talk about the 2028 race. I feel like I've lost control. I'm still the president, and I feel this thing starting to happen. Does that make sense? Hopes and fears. It's happening very, very quickly. Retraction. I may feel like I need to have some power, and this government shutdown gives me some power because I have waning power. So I sometimes want to yield my power. There he is. It's the judgment of the president. They think that if they can convince the American people that J.D. Vance is trustworthy and can begin to separate him from Trump as soon as possible, he stands a good chance of winning in 2028. Hopes and fears, the Queen of Wands. Some woman here that Trump's afraid of. The final outcome is Nine of Pentacles. You know what? Give him a severance package. Pay him well and send him on his way. But I believe that the story of his health is going to leak. And I believe that his MRI showed that he, in fact, has white matter, possibly from previous strokes or Alzheimer's. I think it's affecting actually both hemispheres from what I can see, predominantly on the left side. I think his blood flow has been slow, which has made him at risk for strokes, mini strokes, because of coagulation. And I think that when I go into his physical body, I'm thinking that the left carotid artery has been impacted, and that's why he's vulnerable to these strokes. I also feel that some kind of procedure happened where some kind of stent was placed, because I feel often pain on the right leg, like a burning, like it didn't heal completely, and that's why I sometimes swing my leg, so that the slow healing injury from where the stent was placed doesn't rub against my thigh and my pants. My thigh doesn't rub against my pants and my clothing. And I think he's on more blood thinners than just aspirin. I think this is looking more like something like Plavix. All right, I want to thank you for watching this video. If you're trying to get in for a reading with me, you can go to my Booksy pages. That information is below. All right, we're out of here. Be kind to all so that all will be kind to you too. God bless. Peace out. We'll see you next time. Thank you so much. Bye bye. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. I really appreciate it.